Okay.
To know it comes from.
Okay. One thing that might help you in understanding how you draw this, how you draw a picture, how you think about it, is his pictures. Each one of those pictures have a total life of their own. He have 277 characters, and he has a script. Each one of these people have a whole life of their own. They have uniforms, and they have families, and you know, they have superhero powers. So each one of them have a life of their own, and so from what he thinks, he decides what their personality is and what they're gonna be like, and that has everything to do with the way the characters look.
Actually, yes, I do. You know, if I make a good picture, and in my opinion, I feel that's a good picture, and sometimes I go back and look at that picture and see why I thought it was so good, and then I go back and, you know, just redo it. I mean, not redo it, but, you know, make a new character on it, like this one right here. Like this group right here that I showed you. The first one I made was that one right there, Gamma. And Gamma was the first one, and I liked the way I did him, and I liked the way I had his uniform and everything. And so I made 4 more, like each one a little bit different, you know, the way their costume looks and everything, but all of them on the same team.
One thing is really important, that his characters have to always all be original, and they can't be like any other characters that are in the superhero comic books. But there's only so many body forms and only so many ways that you can do arms and legs and so forth, and that so many characters, just like people, look similar, except that nobody's exactly alike. Then some of his characters sometimes is going to look similar too. So all of us look, you know, alike. You know, most of you could be in my family, you know. So, you know, we look similar, but then there's always something special and something unique.
Does he name all his pictures?
Yeah, all of my characters have their own names, you know. Like,
Did you write this poem for your song?
No. Yes, I did. And one of the things that's important about writing, and especially girls, because a lot of girls write poetry and write. And one of the things that's important about writing is writings come from inside, and it come from the things that you think about, and the things that you see, and the things that you experience, the things that you love, and you take all of those different feelings and that's what you put on paper. Sometimes you write things that rhyme. Sometimes you write things that don't rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme. It has to have a certain rhythm, but it doesn't have to rhyme. And so there's all kinds of different writings. One of the things that you'll find in the African American, a lot of African Americans write poetry. And one of the reasons why African Americans write poetry is that there's been so much pain in our lives from us coming from the slavery and being treated bad. So sometimes the only way that we can keep from being destructive is to write poetry, because what it does is kind of soothe the spirit. The same thing with African Americans sing songs and we sing songs, and that's to keep us from being angry. That's to put us in touch with a greater power, because we know that there's something better than this earth, and it soothes us. So a lot of African Americans write for that reason, and it's to keep them from exploding and keep them from being angry. And it's to redefine the love that we have inside of us in that. And so you'll find that a lot of you will write in that, and will write poetry.
Any other questions? And you play on Nelson, did you want to ask a quick question?
How do you write this poem?
Okay. Like I say, if you love your mother, it's something real special happened, and you want to thank her, then sometimes you could just put down all the special things about her to thank her for doing something special for you, and you'd have a poem. Thank you.
and you've learned something, hopefully, from what you've heard, from what you've seen about, maybe you've thought about something you might like to do. Maybe you've thought about how Mrs. Williams enjoys writing so much it gives her a lot of pleasure to write. And maybe there's something like that that you like to do that gives you a lot of pleasure. Maybe you don't know what that thing is right now, but someday you'll find it. Someday you'll find it.
You can't find it.
Okay. Who's in the front? Van Zandt. Mrs. Van Zandt's class, stand quietly and walk to the door right over there.
Second graders, what do you say?
To present to you two very fine speakers and artists. They are going to share with you what they like to do, something they like to do, and it is a business for them, which makes it a really especially nice combination. We have Mrs. Thelma Williams with us at Norman today. She is an author. She is a mother. She is a black woman. She's an African American. And she's going to share with you today what all of that means to her. And her son is with her, and he's standing in the back behind the camera. Her son's Daniel, and he is also a writer and an illustrator. Some of his work is displayed up in the front now, and you'll have a chance to see some things later. And they both like what they do, and it means something special to them. So I'm going to let Mrs. Williams go ahead and take it.
Good morning, class.
Good morning.
My name is Thelma Williams, and I'm a black mother with a black boy child, a crying mother, trying to be wise. Help me, black man, so fine to rear this boy of mine. Give him an identity, form him your way, show him the trails that he must blaze. Let his feet grow in your firm steps. Let your wisdom be daily felt. I'm a black mother with a black boy child, a crying mother, trying to be wise. From the book, A Single Black Mother, I present to you how to start making a product. Single black mother, building a business. You can clap. I'm going to do another poem later on before I finish, called A Prayer for My Children. I started all the sessions a little different. And you're in the 4th grade. What age group is that? How old? Okay. And that's a good age group to start already thinking about what kinds of things that you might want to do later on as a career. And see, a lot of times, sometimes people don't say enough that the things that you want to do later on should start right now. You know, sometimes somebody forget to tell you enough. And I don't mean you teachers, I know they're doing that. But people from the outside, that's why you are supposed to study, and why you need to get your lesson, and why you need to learn to listen, and why you come to school. That later on, you have to make money. Later on, you might decide to write a book, or you might decide to develop your own t-shirt line. And so it all has to start sometime. My son started writing when he was 10. Started drawing when he was 10. And so he's going to talk to you a little bit later about that. But this is developing a product. Here's another one. Look at this. Guess what? I make money from these products. Yeah. Write a book? Look at that. I know you kind of looked at him over there, and that we have a fashion line going on here from our book. So that's another way that you can take and present your product and sell it. So these are some of the things that you want to think about. I came to talk because I'm African American, to share with you something about your history. But more than that, I think it's more important for you to know how important you are, and that you're going to be the one that's going to be making future history. See, I'm more worried about, you know, what you're going to do and what kind of world that you're going to make, rather than what somebody else did. Because, you know, as grown-ups, we've messed up a lot of things. I hate to say that, but it's true. And we didn't love enough. I hate to say that, but it's true. So I want to talk to you also about what kinds of history that you're going to make. When somebody write about you, what kind of history will they talk about? So starting today, let's see what we can do to make a loving history for tomorrow. See, starting today, you can make a loving history for tomorrow. And I'd like to see you do that. We came to the docks all strapped in chains, mothers, fathers, children the same. Taken from our homeland without giving a thought. Couldn't speak the language, didn't know who fought. We started new families in God's name, but freedom good slaves was the master's game. Buying and selling was a business affair, splitting our families without a care. Trend was started a long time ago. Why can't we stop it now that we know it? Why can't we change this awful plan and stop splitting our families and take a stand? Some children look at television and books and say, where is my father? Does he look as I look? So many pleasures watching our children grow and experience many fathers will never know. We passed through troubles in earlier days when fathers were head of the house, proudly placed. Something happened to some of our fathers with pride, joblessness, and welfare in the white man's life. As caring parents, we must make a plan to hold the family together if we can. A mother and father started our lives. We need both parents. Both should provide. Aftermath of slavery. Long time ago, that's where I came from, and that's where my ancestors came from. And I wanted to share that with you. And then there was another thing that happened, and I call this Black History. And this happened when I was a child. And when I was a child, they had something called segregation. And that meant black folks stayed over here and other folks stayed over there. And that was when I was coming up. Well, from that, I wrote Black History. And what I'm talking about now is how history is made. History is made from things that you see around you, the things that you write about, and the things that happen in your life, the things that are recorded, that's written down someplace. Those are the things that's going to be history tomorrow. Struggling through the pages of blackness, traveling unknown roads, finding fear, dark right spike to be heard. From this Black history emerged. Singing the blues coming from hard times, living the blues from social oppression, finding joy from church and gospel, always believing that God watches us. Walking the pages, fighting our blackness, not having the pride without being taught. We're black and we're proud, we're shouting with hope. The monkeys off our backs. No more road. A beautiful black pearl stands firm. The ebony remain with no defame. The history now written about our strives, the black and white pages, tales of our lives. Black history. I want to introduce you to a place called St. John, and St. John is where I live. Is that where you live too? And St. John, the man that bought St. John was black. The man that owned the whole St. John, and he also owned that whole area over there called Highland Mall. Yes, that was all owned by black men. And this was his daughter here. So here she's telling the story in the paper about her childhood and about her father. And her father was one of the first black millionaires in Austin, Texas. A.K. Black. He owned the property that I live on right now. And so this is the first time I've shared this today, but I want to share it with you. the poem called St. John. And there's a lot of sadness in this poem for me in a way, because St. John was the poorest area in Austin, Texas, and they had no restrictions on it. But what happened in the country, we couldn't make a living picking cotton anymore. And then, so we had to move to the city because the forms changed. And so this is about my community, and that my background tells a story of never having enough. Sitting on this porch, I wonder why this area had it so tough. Urban renewal sold us a dream of owning our own land by purchasing property we could become our own man. Happily moving from the country, no more picking cotton and such. The moving was just the beginning, we still had it rough. Our property had no restrictions like that of the white man. We had no water, electricity, and no money to take us there. I asked my grandfather once, why never was my name? He gently said, daughter, ignorance is to blame. Some people think they better coming from a different place. And some people think they better coming from a different race. We're all God's children in this land of the free. And with faith, patience, and kindness, things will be what they should be. Changes have been made, and my grandfather's gone away. The city brought forth darkness, and light made darkness like day. They paved all the street, and me and many schoolmates left town. Taxes took many buildings, and houses broke new ground. White and black stopped fighting long enough to mix to school. Black children had problems learning the white's golden rule. 30 years has passed, and St. John is placed. I decided to share my talent, making this my home base. Still in my community.
Hello, my name is Daniel Williams, and I'm an artist and a writer. I was an artist first. And as you see here, are some of my characters. And all the characters I'm going to show you are mine and mine alone. Didn't take them from any other book. And I started learning where I tried to draw when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, I drew stick figures. Not very good stick figures, but stick figures. And everything you see here, because I practiced a whole lot. Yeah. And some of these characters have been remade and redone a whole bunch of times. And the reason I'm writing a story about all these, because all of these within the next 2 years is going to be in my comic book. I'm going to write, I'm going to draw it. If I can find somebody else to draw it for me. There was a teacher that first suggested to me to write a story about it. You know, I didn't really do it immediately. But now I have a whole 21 pages of script. That's nothing but writing for one of these things. I have 16 more pages just about some of these characters. And some of these characters, like these two, are going to have a whole book just written about them. All of this is hard work and practice. And all of these are original characters. The easiest thing to do is to draw somebody else's work. The hardest thing to do is make up your own. Thank you very much.
This is a script that he was talking about. He writes this. He sit down on the computer and put this together. Lots of reading and words, isn't it? That's why it's so important for you to stay in those books. Right now, it just might not seem real important to you, but if you want to, you know, he could possibly be on television. You know, he could maybe do a movie called like Star Wars, something like that. Star Trek, Star Wars. And so there's so many possibilities, but you got to get in the books. Nobody want to talk to anyone that doesn't have anything to say. And you learn what to say from things that's already been written and people that's already said something. Reading, studying, listening. Stay in the books. Your mama's the only one think you cute. Isn't that awful? She's the only one. But I tell you one thing, when you get 18, she ain't gonna want to feed you. Get your big feet from under that table and go get a job. Gotta learn now. Got to. My closure. A prayer for my children. I want to give my children every material joy in the world. But Lord God in heaven above, help me always give them love. Keeping these things in mind, please help me give my time. Let me listen to problems deep, even those that make me weak. Help me always understand when I'm not doing the best I can. Give me strength to stop and say, sorry, honey, it can't be that way. Help me know when they're afraid and anger comes from things unsaid. Give me patience to watch and wait. Trust in my teaching will keep them straight. And when they're grown and ready to leave, let me release them. Feel it, please. And prayer for my children. Thank you. Oh, okay, sure.
The script for it took me about 1 year to write the whole script for one whole book. And from that, the first 2 pages of that script, I could get at least 6 or 7 pages of drawings from. Well, like I said, I started when I was 10. I started drawing well when I was about 13. And and even though, at 13 I could draw well, there were still other people who could draw better than me. And I mean, way better than me. But, a lot of them, they could draw real well and everything. And they wanted to be lawyers. So they could draw, and some of them could draw better than me then than I can draw now. And then, they didn't want to do nothing with it.
How much? You mean how much, what, time? Poems come from inside of you and from the things that you learn around you and the things that you love the best and feel deeply about. Sometimes it can take 2 minutes and sometimes it can take a couple hours. It just kind of depends on how they come to you.
For you, when did you start writing?
Age 30. I never wrote one poem until I was 30 years old. And the first poem that I ever wrote was called My Son. And that was this poem here. It was the first poem I wrote when I sat down. My son. When I look at my son's face, I think of God's loving grace. He molded and made us with loving clay, each different in a special way. The same trusting arms of a newborn babe, a new generation, a brand new age. The hope of the world in his hand hold, looking towards the future, watching it unfold. I want him to be a man, stand tall and strong, to make the wise decisions, know right from wrong. When I look at my son's face, I thank God for his loving grace. And that was the first one that came to me. And took me back to me. Go ahead.
It all depends on if I have a clear idea of what the picture is going to be. Some of these characters and everything started because, I was just goofing off. I didn't have nothing better to do, so I just drew them down. And then the story started to form around it. Like the story that I'm writing now, it started with 3 characters. And after that, the story itself is literally growing to, even though I have one whole book down on paper, in my mind, unwritten yet, on paper, down on paper, I have at least 10 about that size. Yeah.
Are you gonna have for the characters? You gotta have a name.
Oh yeah, each character has its own name, own personality. Some are good, but have bad attitudes, and some are bad and have good attitudes. Yeah.
When how long does it take you to how long does it take you to start doing? Like when you think of it and then.
Well, if I have a good, clear picture in my mind of what I want the character to look like, then the actual drawing in pencil could take 15 minutes. If I have a real good picture, and then the inking would probably take 5 because we got to be real careful. And then, so I would say probably, if like I said, if I have a clear picture, it probably takes me. It'll take about 45 minutes from beginning to end.
Do you practice on it first before you draw completely?
Well, actually no. Because a lot of my characters are what I call in a state of flux, which means that, I draw them, and, I might draw them the first time and I don't like how they look. So I draw them again and they look a little better. And then I draw them the final time until the picture on paper matches what I see in my mind.
And that is, in a way, practicing. So he does draw them over and over again if necessary.
What made you feel
One of the things that caused me to start writing this is when I had my son, it was kind of scary for me. Because I had a daughter already, and I was a single parent. And I had a son, and I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to do the things for him that I needed to do. And it was scary. And so that's I wrote out of just pure love and fear. And the second poem I wrote was the one I did first, called A Single Black Mother. And that kind of talked about the fear that I had of trying to rear a boy by myself. And I guess that's another reason I'm so proud to have him here with me as co-lecturer, because I must have done something right. And so, everybody's not lucky enough to have a mother and a father in a household, but that's no excuse for you not to do well. See, nothing is any excuse for you not to do well. That's the message. There's no excuse for not doing well.
for your son? Did you first start sketching the drawing, then you draw over?
Well, see, this right here, this character lenses, I drew him about 1.5 years ago. And, it looked pretty good to me then. I say, hey, it looks pretty good. But just within the last hour, I've totally redrawn him. And now he looks good. See, a lot of my work that I do, at the time I did it then, it looked good to me. But as I started drawing more and more and started to draw better, then I go back and look at some of my own works and say, I could draw that better. And this is what he looks like now. And so basically I do them in pencil first, I do an entire picture in pencil. And then after I, get the image down that I want, then I go over it in ink. And I go over it in ink, do just the outline. And then I determine whether I want to put shadows or any of that in. Yeah.
I can kind of help you with that a little bit.